Om, Namaste, and good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for joining in. My aim tonight is to share what little knowledge I have. So I humbly beg your pardon if I get anything wrong. I am also, like yourselves, a seeker of knowledge and truth. So I am going to be doing this talk with the aim that I can learn from yourselves as well. So I'd like to begin, first of all, with sharing of my screen, because I understand that there are certain words that people might miss out when I talk, and this would help you to follow what I'm actually saying. So if I just click on share screen first thing, and I pick on the one that I want to share, just give me a second. And you should be able to see on my screen now, I believe. You should be able to see my screen, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. So here we go. So I'm going to talk about Arya Samaj, Maharshi Swami Dayanand Saraswati, and the Vedas. Also trying to shed some light on what the Arya Samaj believes in, and also some of the key concepts and principles of the Hindu Dharma, the Sanatan Vedic Hindu Dharma, as we call Hinduism, as is popularly known as. So this is the picture of Swami Maharshi Dayanand. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, born in 1824 in Tankara, Gujarat. He died in 1883 in Ajmer, Rajputana. And he was the founder of the Hindu reform organization, Arya Samaj. And Tony said noble intentions, and that's exactly what the Arya Samaj is, a society of nobles. So noble society, which he established on April the 7th, 1875 in Bombay, in India. He also created the 10 principles of Arya Samaj. The aim of Arya Samaj is to revive the teachings of the Vedas, which are the source of all true knowledge. Throughout his life, Swami Dayanand preached against many traditions which he felt were dogmatic and oppressive. These included idol worship, caste by birth, and the exclusion of females from the study of the Vedas. His most famous work, the Satyarth Prakash, or Light of Truth, explains all his teachings. His message was for Hindus to return to the roots of their religion, which are the Vedas. He wanted to improve the depressive religious, social, political, and economic conditions prevailing in India in the 19th century. Unlike Gautam Buddha, who also left his home and family in search of enlightenment, Swami Dayanand, once enlightened, wanted to reawaken India and revive the Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma, which is our glorious heritage. He did not care about his own salvation. He wanted to help and uplift the entire society that he was a part of. Today, the headquarters of the worldwide Sanatan Hindu Vedic organization, Arya Samaj, are known as the Sarvadeshik Arya Pratinidhi Sabha and are located in New Delhi in India. Here in London, the Arya Samaj welcomes all to its Sunday Satsang service. It's called the Sunday Satsang, where we all meet at 2 p.m. from 2 till 4:30 at the Vande Matram Bhavan, 69A Argyle Road, West Ealing, W13O0LY. And you've got the phone number there, 020-8991-1732. I'll bring this up again at the very end, so you can note this down if you want to. So these are now the principles, the 10 principles of the Arya Samaj in Hindi. Arya Samaj ke niyam va uddeshya. I will read out the principles in English so that you can understand what each one is about. So principle 1 of the Arya Samaj, God is the original source of all that is true knowledge and all that is known by the physical sciences. Principle 2, God is existent, conscious, all beatitude, formless, almighty, just, merciful, unbegotten, infinite, unchangeable, beginningless, incomparable, the sustainer of all, the Lord of all pervading, omniscient, and controller of all from within, ever mature, imperishable, fearless, eternal, pure, and the creator of the universe. God alone must be worshipped. The Vedas are the books of all true knowledge. Sorry, principle 3, the Vedas are the book of all true knowledge. It is the paramount duty of all Aryas to read them, to teach them to others, to listen to them, and to recite them to others. Principle 4, all persons should always be ready to accept the truth and to renounce untruth. Principle 5, All acts ought to be performed in conformity with dharma, righteousness, and duty. That is, after due consideration of truth and untruth. Principle 6, the primary object of the Arya Samaj is to do good to the whole world, i.e. to promote the physical, spiritual, and social progress of all humans. Principle 7, your dealings with all should be regulated by love and due justice in accordance with the dictates of dharma or righteousness. Principle 8, avidya, which is illusion and ignorance, is to be dispelled, and vidya, which is the realization and acquisition of true knowledge, should be promoted. Principle 9, none should remain satisfied with one's own growth and welfare alone, but should incessantly strive for the social upliftment of all and realize one's own elevation in the elevation of others. Principle 10, all persons ought to dedicate themselves necessarily for the social good and well-being of all, subordinating their own personal interest, while the individual is free to enjoy freedom of action for his or her own individual well-being. Now, the motto of the Arya Samaj is Krinvanto Vishvam Aryam, which means make the whole world noble. And that comes directly from the Rig Veda. So you see here a picture of how we do a havan or yajna. So Vedic prayers take the form of havan or yajna, a daily ritual of lighting a holy fire, offering ghee and herbs to the flame, to the rhythmic chanting of Vedic mantras, the most significant of which, of course, is the Gayatri mantra. And now the Gayatri mantra goes like this. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat, which means let us meditate upon the glory of Om Ishwar, who has created this universe, who is fit to be worshipped, who is the remover of all sins and ignorance. May he enlighten our intellect. Now, through this Havan Yajna, Aryas seek truth, selflessness, strength of mind, and divine inspiration by vowing to live as the very expression of God's will and performing all of life's actions as offerings to the Supreme Lord. So in the Havan, we offer, this is literally the kind of gesture we make. So we offer. So our life should be like an offering to the Supreme Lord by following the path of righteousness, peace, and harmony. Havan or yajna also purifies the air, thus restoring the environment. All that we consume must also be replenished. A person lives by 16 rites of passage during his lifetime. The sanskar vidhi marks the different stages of life, which include conception, birth, namkaran, as a lot of Hindus know, or the naming ceremony, the first time the child goes outdoors, and eating solids, the first time the child eats solids, mundan, or the head shaving ceremony, the ear piercing ceremony, receiving holiness with the yajjopavit, which is the holy thread that Hindus wear, the sacred thread, studying, especially the study of the Vedas, the vivah ceremony or the wedding or the marriage ceremony, and then vanprastha or retirement, sannyas or renunciation, and finally antyeshti or the funeral and cremation rites. Arya Samaj respects all life forms and calls upon us to live a disciplined vegetarian lifestyle, free from any addictions. The purpose of life is to seek true knowledge or satya and to perform one's dharma, duties and responsibilities with selfless devotion for the benefit and uplifting of all. Dharma maryada chalakar labh de sansar ko, let us follow the path of dharma and righteousness to benefit the world, not for our benefit, but for the general benefit of everyone. It is only when we as a society, when all society or humankind progresses, that we progress as individuals. We should not just want our good, but the good of all. Arya Samaj preaches monotheism. There is only one God, the creator, the preserver, the dissolver, Om. Om is, was, and always will be. Om is omniscient and omnipotent and exists in every living being, every particle, everywhere. Om is absolute, always complete. What is created is complete and perfect, and what remains is also complete and perfect. It's a bit like this picture shows you. If you have infinity and you add to infinity, it's still infinity. You take away from infinity, it's still infinity. You multiply, you divide, it's still infinity. So it does not change. And this is the way we would understand the concept of Om, God. So I'm going to take you through this little mantra here. Purnamida Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this explains that Om, that outer world is complete or Purna, full of divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purna, full of divine consciousness. From Purna, completeness, comes Purna. So from the fullness of divine consciousness, the world is manifested. And taking Purna from Purna indeed remains. So whenever you take anything from complete, it's still complete, and what remains is complete, because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. Om, peace, 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now, Arya Samaj forbids idol worship, as God is formless, infinite, and all-pervading. Indeed, it was on this very night, on the very night of Mahashivratri, when the young Mool Shankar Tiwari, as he was known before he became Swami Dayanand Saraswati, on a night vigil in a temple, on that night, he gained his enlightenment on the night of Mahashivratri. He watched the idol of Lord Shiva being run over by a rat. He was shocked, and he was compelled to ask how the Lord could possibly protect us if he was not even capable of protecting himself. Rishi Bodh, or enlightenment, led him to becoming an ascetic in search of the truth, a thirst only quenched under the guidance of Swami Virjananda, whom he met in Mathura in 1860. Thenceforth, Swami Dayanand Saraswati devoted his life to the spreading of the message of the Vedas and to removing ignorance, inequality, superstition, and illiteracy from society. He was far-sighted and realized that Hindi should be the national language of India. K.M. Munshi, the erudite philosopher, educator, rightly said, Swami Dayanand was the first architect of modern India. We do not worship him, we only worship the Supreme Lord Om, but we are ever obliged to Swami Dayanand for awakening, uniting, and reforming us. Hindu deities such as Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, Lord Ganesh, Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, Goddess Sita, Lord Hanuman, the goddesses Durga, Saraswati, and Kali, should be understood to be symbolic representatives of the Supreme Lord Om's qualities, attributes, the Lord's energy, his creative, preserving, and destructive forces. Since God exists everywhere and is present in every grain and particle, to idol worshippers, God is also present in their idols. However, they should realize and look beyond the image of the real to the real Lord's greatness himself. Just as when you see a picture or a painting of someone, you know that it is but an image. It is a representation of that person. It is not the real person. So it is very important not to stay stuck at the idol level, is to go beyond that level and to understand the greatness of the Lord himself. Similarly, the natural world that we live in is also a representative of the Supreme Lord's will, his perfection, and his power. It should not be worshipped. Each element, each particle, each living being is imbued with the Supreme Lord's prana, or life force. And I think this is very similar to what Tony first mentioned as radiance and light. So we are imbued with the Supreme Lord's prana, or life force, and exists only because he has ordained it to be so. And today I believe physicists call this prana the God particle, in fact. Now let's look at some key mantras from the Vedas and the Upanishads. So we start with this one. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasuva Yad Bhadram Tanna Asuva. And this means, O Lord God Almighty, Om, creator of the universe, bestower of happiness, we pray to you in earnest to remove all our sorrows, ills, and evil leanings. Enrich us with good qualities, noble actions, and benevolent natures. Then we come to this one, Isha Vasamidam. Om Isha Vasamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Taktena Bhunjitha Ma Gridha Kassasvidhanam. Om Isha Vasamidam Sarvam. The whole universe is enclosed or enveloped in God, and also he dwells or resides in the entire universe. So God is in everything and everything is clothed within God. Both are simultaneously true. Yat kincha jagatyam jagattena, whatever is moving or not moving in this universe is all penetrated and also enclosed by him. All that is living or non-living pleasing or otherwise, planets, stars, or even ourself, the Atma, is pervaded by him. This perspective can lead you to recognizing his omnipresence, which may further result in you experiencing oneness with all and everything around you. Tyaktena bhunjitha, as everything is in him and he is in everything, you may let go, you may rejoice or experience bliss. Therefore, detach from the worldly things and let go. Appreciating his omnipresence and realizing oneness can liberate you, which can be the greatest blessing and protection you can ask for. And finally, ma gridha kasya svidhanam, do not covet or hold on to anyone's wealth. What is the point of wanting something when everything is his? Nothing is ours. It draws our attention to the virtues of non-stealing, overcoming jealousy, and staying away from any greed or deceit. All that is there belongs solely to God. Do not cling on to anything because all is in him and everything is he. Hence, just let go and rejoice. Complete let go, detachment, renouncing, or pratyahar is the key. Now we get to the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiya Mamritat. We worship Om, the Father of the three worlds, the three-eyed Lord, the Shiva, who emits the excellent fragrance which nourishes us all. So light is almost a fragrance here. As a melon upon ripening is effortlessly released from the bondage to the stem from where it grows, so may we be freed from death to dwell in immortality. Just like it's effortless for the melon to just fall off. That is how we should experience death. Let's look at the concepts of karma and punarjanma. So being born a human being means we are tied to the cycle of karma phal, which is action and consequence, or the principle of causality. And we're also tied to punarjanma or reincarnation. We have no choice but to perform karma throughout our lives, through everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do, good or bad, throughout our lives. There are three different kinds of karma: prarabdha, sanchit, and kriyamana or agami. Prarabdha karma is the result of past karmas experienced through the present life and the present body, and is only a part of sanchit karma, which is the sum of one's past karmas, while agami karma is the result or fruit of our current decisions and actions, which we will experience in time to come. This concept of the great unalterable law of karma first appears in the oldest Hindu text, the Rig Veda, and forms the basis of Hindu philosophy. And as a goldsmith taking a piece of gold turns it into another, newer and more beautiful shape, so does this self, after having thrown off this body and dispelled all ignorance, make unto himself another newer and more beautiful shape. Now, as a man is like this or like that, according as he acts and according as he behaves, so will he be. A man of good acts will become good. A man of bad acts, bad. He becomes pure by pure deeds, bad by bad deeds. And here they say that a person consists of desires. And as is his desire, so is his will. And as is his will, so is his deed. And whatever deed he does, that he will reap. And this comes from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Now we come to the concept of the supreme soul, the individual soul, and the physical world that we live in. So Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya, that is the mantra there. So in the Shvetashvatar Upanishad, therefore it is said, Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya, Samanam Vriksham Parishasvajate. Two birds are sitting on the same tree as friends. One bird is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other is simply observing and watching. Paramatma, or God, is the supreme Lord, the supreme soul, is the bird that is watching over everyone. The Jivatma is the individual soul of every living being, and that is the bird that is eating the fruits, of course, the fruits of one's actions, and the fruits on the tree in this case. The Jivatma is ever agitated and unhappy due to his never-ending desires, his attachment, his greed, selfishness, envy, and anger. Finally, the third permanent, Prakriti, or raw matter, is the tree that is represented by the tree, as you can see in this picture. symbolizing nature or matter in its ever-changing form. These three, Paramatma, Jivatma, and Prakriti, are ever-present, permanent, and indestructible, but only Paramatma and Jivatma have consciousness or Chetna. Prakriti is provided by Paramatma to sustain us during our earthly existence, but we lose ourselves in the beauty of nature, in the beauty of what the world we live in the beauty of what we see around us, failing to see beyond it. We should remember at all times that if the natural world is so beautiful, then imagine how infinitely more beautiful and pure and perfect its maker or creator must be. This is why the Jivatma, in his most elevated form of human being, must find and recognize the greatness of Paramatma, for it is that true knowledge which frees him from the cycles of birth, death, and karma, from pain and suffering. It is only true knowledge that allows him to attain moksha or salvation. Although Paramatma, the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, constantly watches the activities of the world, no one sees him. However, we should not think that because no one can see him, he does not see, for his power to see is never diminished. Therefore, everyone should worship Paramatma, the super soul, who always stays with Jivatma, the individual soul, as a friend. Like a true friend, Paramatma helps us, inspires us, motivates us, teaches us and guides us, consoles us, and illumines the way to alleviate our suffering. Now, Vedic knowledge and scriptures, the meaning of the word Om, of course, Om is the religious symbol, as you see here. It's a symbol of the Hindus and the one and only true name of our creator, of the Lord. It is omnipresent in almost all the major cultures of the world. Another way of saying Om is Om, A-U-M, the sound of the infinite. Om is said to be the essence of all mantras of the Vedas, the highest of all mantras and divine word. By sound and form, Om symbolizes the infinite Brahman and the entire universe. Stands for creation, U for preservation, and M for dissolution or destruction. This represents the trinity of God's energy in Hindu Dharma, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The three portions of Om relate to the states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, and the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, or protons, neutrons, and electrons, as we know them. The three letters also indicate three planes of existence: heaven, earth, and the netherworld. Om can represent all the words produced by the human vocal organ. Is produced by the throat, U and M by the lips. In the Vedas, Om is the sound of the sun, the sound of light, the sound of ascent. It has an upward movement. It uplifts the soul, just like the eagle soars upwards. And pronunciation of the word Om is supposed to symbolize the totality of all sounds, as it includes all other sounds that humans can utter. This idea of totality also exists, of course, in the English word omnipresent, and that includes Om as the prefix. We also have omnipotent and omniscient, all of which have the concept of Om. I'm going to skip this little bit about Omega. Om, of course, is a well-known symbol amongst all Hindus. I'm noticing the time. Just this last bit now. So scriptures, Shastras. Now, our Vedic scriptures are called Shastras, or religious books. They contain knowledge that teaches us about our religion. They guide us on how to learn how to differentiate between right and wrong. Most important scriptures or Shastras are the Vedas. The word Veda means knowledge. These are the oldest texts in the world and form the basis of Hinduism. Sanatan Hindu Dharma is founded on the teachings contained in the Vedas. There are 4 in number, comprising more than 20,000 mantras. Rig Ved by Agni Rishi, Sam Ved by Aditya Rishi, Yajur Ved by Vayu Rishi, Atharva Ved by Angira Rishi. The Vedas are also called Shruti, or heard knowledge. The Vedas are the eternal truths revealed by God to the greatest rishis of India. All the other religions of the world claim their authority as being delivered by special messengers of God to certain persons, but the Vedas do not owe their authority to anyone. They are themselves the authority, as they are eternal, as they are the knowledge of the Lord. And apparently I heard that every knowledge is sound based. And because the Vedas are sounds, they are literally what we call the true knowledge. When the rishis, holy men of pure minds and thoughts, sat in meditation, God revealed unto the rishis the knowledge of the Vedas. The Vedas are thus said to be divine and eternal knowledge. The rishis in turn revealed and explained the knowledge of the Vedas to the people, and the Vedas were taught orally from generation to generation by the rhythmic chanting of the mantras. Now, the Bhagavad Gita contains lessons preached by Lord Krishna. That's another very, very major text in Hinduism. It the lessons contains lessons preached by Lord Krishna to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra during the Mahabharata. This occurred about 5,000 years ago, but even today, the message of the Gita is necessary. It's a little book containing a wealth of knowledge. Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna the path to attaining moksha or salvation. He shows him his duty, he shows him his dharma, and he shows him, and his teachings come through the karma yoga, action and consequence, jnana yoga, knowledge, and bhakti yoga. So through these three yogas, principally, there are many others mentioned in the Gita, you can achieve moksha or salvation. One of the most enlightening religious books, of course, the Bhagavad Gita is regarded as the most, by most Hindus as the main scripture, being translated into many languages worldwide. In Indian courts, witnesses swear by the Bhagavad Gita when they step into the witness box. And Rishi Sunak swore by the Bhagavad Gita when he took his oath as Chancellor, as we all know. Now, the Ramayana contains the account of King Ram of Ayodhya. The original Ramayana was written in Sanskrit, written by Valmiki Rishi. The Ramayana contains not only the account of King Ram and his wife Sita, or Prince Ram, because he only became king afterwards, but also contains religious teachings. The people who appear in the Ramayana are ideals. They teach us how we should mold and live our lives, how a father and a son should behave towards each other, how brothers should live together, how pure and faithful the lives of husbands and wives should be, what the duties of a king are, what the duties of the subjects are, what constitutes true service and devotion, or what constitutes pride and arrogance. There are several other defining scriptures in Hinduism, the Brahman Grantha, the Darshan, the Smritis, the Bhashyas, the Sutra, to name some. They form an essential guide for individual, societal, and national conduct, the basis of our law and justice, the sciences, mathematics, grammar, medicine, yoga, warfare, governance, dance, music, art and craft, you name it. And the Vedic Sanatan Hindu Dharma, of course, is in fact a comprehensive, highly organized, civilized system of existence for all living being on the planet and the planet itself. It is not just for Hindus, it's for everyone. All we have to do is start reading these timeless treasures and never stop learning. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.